A young man in an overcoat boards a crowded city bus. He walks down the aisle, takes his seat next to a middle-aged couple, and waits for the doors to close. Beneath his coat, he is wearing a suicide vest packed with ball bearings and rat poison. He presses a button and destroys himself, the couple at his side, and 20 others on the bus. When we try to understand why this happened, we find that the usual demographic data is useless. He may have been wealthy, popular, and intelligent, a mechanical engineer with a bright future. On paper, his biography is completely silent as to why he did this. Yet we can guess his religion with near-perfect accuracy. While his income and education are incidental, his specific beliefs are the actual engine behind his behavior. We tend to treat beliefs as harmless. We imagine them as private thoughts floating around in our heads, disconnected from the physical world. But a belief is an active neurological lever. Once pulled, it moves everything else in a person's life. It dictates your emotional responses, shapes your worldview, and determines your physical behavior. Consider how your reality would rewrite itself if you suddenly believed you only had 2 weeks to live, or that aliens had implanted a receiver in your skull. The moment a new belief takes hold, your brain alters your physical actions in the real world to match it. Our actions are the physical expression of our ideas. The content of our thoughts determines the security of the world we share. To function as a reliable map of reality, your brain requires logical coherence. You cannot believe that a location is both north and south of you simultaneously and still successfully navigate there. Your brain continuously organizes information based on this logic. In Paris, the exact same building, the American Embassy, can trigger wildly different physical responses. If you are worried about security, it is a prime terrorist target to avoid. If you are looking for a hotel room, it is a peaceful view to request. The belief you hold about the building dictates your physical proximity to it. Because bad data leads to bad outcomes, we naturally apply a rigorous standard of evidence to our lives. We expect the math holding up our bridges to be flawless. We require our doctors to base their diagnoses on observable tests. If a neighbor claimed there was a refrigerator-sized diamond buried in his backyard, you wouldn't just take his word for it. You would demand to see the hole, the dirt, and the diamond itself. The claim is extraordinary, so the evidence must be physical. In the secular world, a belief is only considered valid if it is directly tied to observable evidence. Operating on bad data when building an airplane or prescribing medicine leads to fatal real-world actions. There is exactly one sphere of human life where we abandon this standard. In religion, claiming absolute certainty about the universe without a shred of evidence is praised as a supreme virtue. Once a person accepts the premise of absolute scriptural truth, extreme behaviors become perfectly rational. If you genuinely believe the creator of the universe promised you immunity from poison in the Gospel of Mark, handling lethal rattlesnakes and drinking strychnine is a logical physical action. Mainstream society looks at extremists and correctly identifies the danger, but we respond with a demand for universal religious tolerance. We create a strict conversational taboo against criticizing another person's faith. This moderate demand for respect builds an unassailable protective wall. It shields fundamentalists from logical criticism. We cannot point out that a suicide bomber's beliefs are absurd, because we have already agreed that holding irrational beliefs about God is off-limits to debate. Religious moderation does not cure extremism. By forcing society to respect the irrational, moderation actively enables extremism, preventing us from attacking the root engine of dogma. Historically, religious dogmas were fought with swords and catapults. The physical damage of an irrational belief was limited by the technology of the era. The stakes of modern warfare have escalated. The technology required to wipe out entire cities is rapidly proliferating across the globe. We are allowing ancient, unverified myth to control the geopolitics of superpowers armed with nuclear weapons. We universally recognize that gods like Apollo and Zeus are obsolete mythology, yet we allow the exact same level of myth to dictate global survival in the present. A species armed with 21st-century weaponry cannot physically survive while operating its decision-making on Iron Age beliefs. We must end the conversational taboo around criticizing religious faith. The luxury of polite silence has expired. Faith must be stripped of its status as a sacred, untouchable category. It must be subjected to intense, uncompromising secular logic. We have to demand the same rigorous standards of evidence for religious claims that we demand from a doctor treating a disease or an engineer building a skyscraper. Replacing our deference to myth with a demand for intellectual honesty is the prerequisite for a civilization that intends to survive its own inventions.